desperation, debt, despair. Have you ever felt like your back was against the wall, with no options, no resources, and no one to call? Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful financial transformation stories ever told, a true rags to riches blueprint found not in a self-help book, but in the pages of the Bible. This is the story of the widow's oil. And if you're ready to turn your desperation into abundance, then stay with me. There once was a woman who had nothing but a jar of oil and a mountain of debt. Her husband, a prophet, had died. Creditors were at her door, threatening to take her sons as payment. She had no wealth, no resources, and no hope. But what happened next was not just a miracle. It was a financial blueprint for anyone who dares to believe. This is not just a Bible story. This is episode 1 of our 4-part series, God's Blueprint for Wealth. And today, we explore the power of obedience. Lessons from the widow's oil, 2 Kings 4 verses 1 to 7. 2 Kings 4 verse 1 says, "The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, 'Your servant my husband is dead, and now his creditor has come and take my 2 boys as his slaves.'" Let that sink in. Instead of panicking, the widow did something extraordinary. She sought prophetic instruction. This is key. James 1 verse 5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and it will be given to him." Sometimes, your next level isn't about more hustle. It's about more clarity. This woman was not irresponsible. She was a widow, a mother, a believer. Her husband served God. But still, she faced a crisis. Sometimes, faith doesn't prevent the storm, but it prepares you for the miracle inside the storm. Elisha doesn't offer her money. He asks her a question that would change her life. What do you have in your house? 2 Kings 4 verse 2. A simple question, but one packed with spiritual and financial significance. Listen closely. God never starts with what you lack. He starts with what you have, what's already in your hands. Even if it looks small, insignificant, useless. Zechariah 4 verse 10 says, "Do not despise these small beginnings." That little oil became her empire. God often hides miracles in mundane places. You may be overlooking your greatest asset, your talent, your idea, your relationships, your faith. She replied, "Your servant is nothing there at all," she said, "except a small jar of olive oil." Ah, there it is. A little, just a jar. But in God's hands, a little becomes more than enough. Elisha tells her in verse 3, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few." She had to get out, and gather capacity. God was ready to pour, but only into what she prepared. Luke 6 verse 38. "Give, and it will be given to you, for with the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you." Preparation is proof of expectation. Are you preparing for what you prayed for? Catch that? God gives her an action plan, but she had to participate. Faith is not passive. It moves. Imagine the embarrassment. A widow knocking on doors asking for empty jars, without explanation. But she obeyed. She didn't argue. She didn't hesitate. Because when God gives you instruction, it often won't make sense, but it makes miracles. Just like Noah built an ark before it rained. Just like Peter cast his net again after catching nothing. Just like Jesus told servants to fill pots with water before turning it to wine. Obedience unlocks abundance. 2 Kings 4 verse 5 says, "She left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. She went home, shut the door, and started pouring, jar after jar after jar, and the oil didn't stop flowing until she ran out of jars." 2 Kings 4 verse 6. Then the oil stopped flowing. The flow of provision stopped at the limit of her preparation. Your vision limits your provision. she wasn't just experiencing magic. She was following divine systems and strategy. Miraculously, the oil did not stop until every jar was full. Not before, not after, which means your capacity determines your miracle. If she had gathered more jars, she would have received more oil. God didn't limit her blessing. Her preparation did. So let's pause. What's in your house? What gifts, skills, or insights are you underestimating? God isn't asking for what you don't have. He's asking, what do you have? After filling every jar, she came back to Elisha. He said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest." 2 Kings 4 verse 7. From empty to overflow, from debt to financial freedom, from widow to entrepreneur. Her miracle didn't just relieve her, it empowered her to build wealth. God didn't just give her a miracle, He gave her a business plan. Collect, multiply, sell, pay off debt, live on the profit. That's financial wisdom straight from heaven. This wasn't a one-time bailout. It was a sustainable solution. God is not just a provider. He's an economist. He teaches kingdom principles like stewardship, diligence, vision, and faith. So, what can we take away from this? God always starts with what you have. Stop waiting for more. Start with what's in your hand. Instructions precede increase. When God speaks, obey, even when it seems strange. Preparation determines your capacity. Empty jars represent readiness. How ready are you to receive what God wants to pour? God's provision brings freedom. She paid her debts and lived. That's financial peace, rooted in God's way. This story isn't just history, it's strategy. This isn't just a Sunday school tale. It's a financial framework, a roadmap from empty to overflowing, from debt to destiny. And it all began with a question. What do you have? You're not empty. There's oil in your jar. There's purpose in your pain. And there's wealth in your obedience. Here's the blueprint we learn from this woman. Seek divine wisdom before human help. James 1 verse 5. Identify what you have, even if it seems small. Zechariah 4 verse 10. Prepare in faith for provision. Luke 6 verse 38. Close the door and work. Obedience activates overflow. 2 Kings 4 verse 5. Don't eat all your oil. Sell, settle debts, and steward wisely. Proverbs 21 verse 20. You may feel like you're running on empty today, but with God's strategy, you're only one instruction away from overflow. If this message stirred something in your spirit, like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a breakthrough today. This is just episode 1 of our 4-part series, God's Blueprint for Wealth. In episode 2, we uncover how one man went from being forgotten in prison to becoming the CFO of a nation. Think you know the story of Joseph? Think again. Turn on notifications so you don't miss it.